Did you know that there's a male cheetah? Not only that, but did you know he's actually missing his penis in most panels and is weirdly drawn with a lion's mane despite the fact that he is a cheetah, not a lion? Now, before we get into Boy Cheetah, let's go over what's been going on in cheetah lore up to this point. You see, Priscilla Rich was the first ever cheetah from the Golden Age of comics as a woman with a split personality, which is why she would turn to the cheetah sometimes. That's because the cheetah is her other half that is coming out. It is meant to be the embodiment of her darkness. And then her niece Deborah Domaine would become the second cheetah after being tortured by Kobra, and would become their pawn. However, she was killed off during Crisis on Infinite Earths when she was wiped away from existence, but she is confirmed to still exist post-Crisis as Priscilla's niece, however, maybe not as the cheetah. Instead, we'd be introduced to the most notable cheetah, that being Barbara Ann Minerva, who would become the cheetah via different means, and that would instead be a ritual. They required her to be a virgin, but because she wasn't one, there were actually side effects, that being bloodlust. This ritual is a marriage between the host and the plant god, and the host must also give a sacrifice to the plant god, most likely a human life. The reason why I say most likely, because there were different times in different canon where it wasn't a human life she had to sacrifice, but just really any life, like an animal life even. Now, the male cheetah, aka Sebastian Ballesteros, made his debut in the end of Wonder Woman issue 170 from 2001 as a shady politician and a Lex Luthor type figure. He would become one of the big villains of an ongoing arc. We'd also get a pretty good impression of his personality in that he's an extremely corrupted businessman who also dislikes protesters. Coming across as the basic privileged politician, along with making it very clear that he's also sexist due to his comments, especially his sexist comments towards Barbara. He'd start to feel like he was lacking true powers, so he would make a deal with the same plant god who gave Barbara her powers. In spite of the fact that the rule says that only women can become the cheetah, the plant god actually just makes an exception, giving us a male cheetah, with Barbara being left powerless, who he seems to hate just because she's a powerful woman. We would then later be given Sebastian's origin story, which is actually pretty dark. He grew up in Argentina as a part of a poor family, but despite his plays, he would grow to hate the lower class, and would end up allying himself with a dictator, who I'm not naming due to the fact I don't want to bring anything up insensitive, as they use the name of a real-life dictator for this story. The dictator would kill Sebastian's family, with him becoming a part of the higher class, now rich himself, he left to the States. And become a businessman. Sebastian would then gaslight Vanessa into believing that she was robbed of the role of Wonder Girl, and outright turn her into the new Silver Swan. And then he proceeded to sell her to Veronica Cale, which is just extremely dark, as he doesn't really see Silver Swan as a person, but instead property. He would then become romantic with Cersei. However, this is his mistake, because you see, you have to be a virgin in order to become the cheetah, without any sort of consequences. He also made another mistake by not having Barbara killed, because she's angry, like really angry, and she comes back for revenge, along with new powers of her own, that of a Fury, which, long story short, is god powers. And as Wonder Woman is trying to take on both of the cheetahs, preventing them from hurting anyone, Dawn Troy herself is talking to the plant god and points out how Sebastian is no longer a virgin, which makes me question how, considering he has no penis. I know this is the second time I mention it, but I'm just really curious. How does that work? Anyways, back in the fight, a building lands on Sebastian and Barbara, both of whom have lost their powers and are presumed dead. But no bodies are found, which of course means they're not dead. But while he didn't die here, he would die later on, that being off panel when Wonder Woman finds his corpse later on in the series. Barbara had actually killed him to redo the ritual to become the cheetah again, with a tagline, "The cat came back," which, you know what, that's dirty Minerva, but I like it. After this, Sebastian would never come back, which really says something considering the fact that almost every single comic character always does. However, he would be used as an alias for Barbara in the New 52. Unfortunately, though, it's Sabrina Ballesteros rather than Sebastian Ballesteros. In other media, we would see a male cheetah in Gods and Monsters. However, I don't know if this is meant to be Sebastian or not, because he's only shown briefly, and it doesn't seem like he's meant to be Sebastian or really any established cheetah. Instead, my guess is he's an original character or a male version of Priscilla Rich. Also, his main story in comics about Silver Swan was actually adapted in Wonder Woman's Bloodlines. However, Sebastian is just completely absent in the movie, which made me kind of laugh because the story in itself I thought was handled better with a stronger focus on Silver Swan and Wonder Woman rather than the whole sexism that is Sebastian. Maybe that was intentional, because I really do feel like the story is generally better without Sebastian in it, which is kind of sad when you think about it because it's Sebastian's really only big event. Unless you count Barbara killing him to get the cheetah power back, which results in him dying. So I don't really know what you would make of that. However, there might be a slight reference to Sebastian when Barbara takes a drug to make her stronger. She does physically resemble Sebastian as Cheetah, but it's only really speculated that it might have been a reference to him because it's kind of unclear if that was intentional or if it was a happy accident. Personally, I think Sebastian is one of the weaker cheetahs, with my personal favorite being Barbara. Seeing how her story developed through his was probably my favorite part of the character. But for the most part, while there seems to be an attempt to make a commentary of his origin, it doesn't really come across such as that due to the fact that there isn't really much there that's ever brought up again. Like, yes, he does mention it a couple times, but he doesn't really use it, doesn't really have anything to do with the character. He really just doesn't seem to be involved with his own origin, which is kind of an odd choice to make. However, I will say this, even though I have been kind of making jokes about his design, that having a mane and having no penis, I do think it looks pretty cool. And that's it. Like always, please like, subscribe, and see you guys next time. Bye.